Happy holidays, Cosorians! Welcome back to another episode, and I hope you're excited because today we'll be making a pecan pie in the air fryer. Subscribe to become a part of our Cosori community, and hit the bell icon so you never miss another cooking episode. Alright, now we've got everything measured out already. We're going to be starting off with the stand mixer. We're making the pie crust first. So you're going to be adding in 1 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. Put that all in there. If you don't have a stand mixer, you could use a hand mixer as well. The reason why we ask you to use a machine is because it's just, everything comes together way faster. And then also we're adding in 1/3 cup of white granulated sugar. Also, this is gonna be 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt. And the trick to get really flaky, really buttery crust is you want to freeze your butter overnight and let it come up temperature a little bit in the fridge. And then this is going to be 8 tablespoons of cubed butter. I'm gonna put it directly into the stand mixer. And then you're going to use the dough hook to make little pea-sized shaped balls of dough and butter mixed together. That helps really aerate the dough and also creates a really flaky and buttery crust. The last thing we'll be adding in will be the 2 tablespoons of water, a teaspoon of vanilla, and 1 whole egg yolk of an extra large egg. Alrighty, so we're gonna get this mixing out now. As always, start at the lowest speed possible, and then you're gonna crank it up to about speed 3, so like medium-low speed, and once the butter starts to incorporate into the flour, you're gonna put it up 2 extra speeds higher, so it's medium-high, and then you're gonna let it go about 5 minutes till the dough comes all together. Then add in the egg. Awesome, see, it came all together like this. There's still little bits and pieces of butter dotted throughout, including flour. That's totally fine. What you're gonna wanna do is just kind of, if it's not all congealed, you want to push it all together with your hands. We're going to flatten it into a disc and then cover it with plastic wrap and let it sit in the fridge for 15 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. Perfect. It's been 15 minutes now for our dough. We just took it out. And what you're going to want to do is take some parchment paper so it doesn't stick to your cutting board. You can definitely take some flour and dust it as well and make sure it doesn't stick onto your rolling pin. But we're going to be rolling out this disc of dough to about 10 inches so that it covers the entire pie shell that you're going to be using. And also the excess will shrink once you are blind baking in the air fryer. So we want to make sure that there's enough to cover the entire pie tart shell. We're going to be using a 9-inch pie shell today. However, if you don't have a 9-inch pie shell, you can always take an 8-inch by 2-inch cake pan that fits perfectly inside the air fryer here, and it comes out really nicely. Another trick is that if it's starting to move and stick, you can get another piece of parchment paper, and that'll help you be able to avoid sticking onto the rolling pin itself. Also, another tip for rolling out pie dough is that you don't want to make uneven rolls, because if you do, for example here, look, if you push down harder here and lighten up here, there's going to be indent into your crust. So to prevent that, you want the rolling pin to be over the entire circumference of the circle, have even pressure on both ends, and roll out, and then it'll smooth everything out and each side will be even. And this way you can flip it like this too and get the other side going. Perfect. This should be big enough. You can always check with your pie tin. Actually, we're gonna do it a little bit more just so you have enough dough to cover the entirety of the shell. Perfect. Now for the fun part, you're gonna place it over your prepared pie tin. So what I've done, I've gone ahead and sprayed it with some flour baking spray. That's all that is just aerated butter and flour in a can. And then you're gonna cut out a circle parchment sheet to fit right in the bottom so you can take it out of this metal tin and it'll be a better presentation for your holiday dinner table. So we're just going to flip the pie crust on top of it now. Make sure that the center of the pie crust is right underneath, like so. Take that off here. And then you want to just gently lift the excess while pushing down into the center of the pie tin so that you can make sure that the dough doesn't tear and you have everything ready to go. Perfect. Perfect. So now that the pie dough has been laid on top and in the right position, I just wanted to show you how to get rid of this excess. You don't want to cut off too much of it because when you are blind baking to set the crust to ensure that nothing is soggy when you put the filling in, you don't want to cut off too much of the excess because when it bakes, the dough itself will shrink. So all of this will go down a little bit into your pie tin. That's why it's always good to err on the diameter of your pie crust being 3 inches larger than your pie tin, so you can cut accordingly and make sure that there's enough dough after you blind bake it. So how you're going to fix this is, there's a lot right here, right? So you want to flip it up and just kind of mark down with your finger where the edge of the pie crust is. I would do it all around just so I know. And then I can go in with scissors, or you can use a sharp paring knife to cut off the excess. For the air fryer, crimping the pie crust isn't ideal because as you can see in a second, it's going to be a tight fit into the basket. So for baking pies in the air fryer, I don't recommend crimping it, which means you have like a nice wavy design on the top of your pie crust, which makes it easier for us to cut off the right amount as well. So you're gonna go ahead and lift up the extra ones, and where you've indented to show the edge of the pie tin, you want to go about, this is what, a 1/4 inch above it, because that's how much it'll shrink down. So then just take the scissors and we're just going to cut across evenly for the entire pie. I think scissors are a great tool because then you can have controlled movements and it helps keep the pie crust intact rather than using a paring knife, because then sometimes it's just a little bit more shaky in my opinion. And just a little bit more down here. And this pie is going to be so good, you guys. It's going to be very nice and caramelly thanks to the molasses that we're going to be adding into the filling. And right now, just from the pie crust itself, it's already starting to smell like vanilla because there's vanilla in the pie crust. It's so good. It's like not overly sweet, and I'm so excited for you to try this at home. And now that your pie crust shell is exactly the size you need it to be, we're going to do this thing called docking. Docking is just when you poke holes into the bottom of the crust, regardless if you're making a pie, a tart, a quiche, whatever it may be. This just helps to ensure that your pie crust won't bubble up, and also it kind of helps it stick to the pan and helps you with easy release later as well. The most important part of docking is to just really keep the dough in its place, and also, like I said, it prevents air bubbles from coming up so you don't get a weird like bubbly kind of situation going on. If you want to, if this was in a normal traditional oven, you could go ahead and make a edge design, but since I want to be able to help you release it from the pan, we don't want to do any decoration on the edge right now, otherwise it'll be really hard for you to take it out of the air fryer. Perfect, so that's done. We're going to shift things over a little bit just to show you how to get it into the air fryer. So our air fryer is already preheated. We've preheated it to 400 degrees, and then what you're gonna do is release the inner basket so you don't burn yourself. And this is kind of tricky. It's a perfect square, but it's rounded. So I would go in diagonally with my hands to avoid burning myself. And this way, when you take it out, it's less hot and it's not as heavy. You won't have to control and be constricted by hitting the outer basket edges. And you're just gonna go in slowly, diagonally like this, and just drop it down. Perfect. So we're going to blind bake it now, but another trick to make sure that your pie stays its shape is gonna take a piece of parchment paper that you've cut out to measure the circumference of the pie. Push it down like so, so it stays like this. And then using dry beans or rice, just cover the entire inside of the pie. And then push down so it acts as a weight, so your pie shell does not collapse on itself. It's really important, at least for those who are like concerned about aesthetic reasons and appearance. The reason why you do this is so that the shell itself stays perfectly intact, and if you have nothing sitting down or weighing down your pie crust, the edges along the rim of the pie tin, it'll collapse, like literally fall down, and you will no longer have a crust for your filling. Okay, so this is still kind of hot, so be careful. Just gonna reattach it back onto the outer basket and insert into here. Turn it on, and we're going to blind bake it at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 5 minutes. The pie crust just finished, and there's gonna be a trick for you as well. So take it out carefully so you don't disturb the rice on the top. And we're going to allow this to cool completely now. To let it cool faster, remove it from the outer basket. We're gonna be working on the filling now, so we're just gonna be pushing this air fryer unit away. I'm switching out with our stand mixer here. Cool. For the stand mixer, you're gonna wanna grab your whisk attachment. And then to the bowl, we're going to be adding in a 1/4 cup of dark molasses. I would say use the molasses you're most comfortable with, because I tried 2 different types of molasses and it actually affected the rise and the color of my custard in the middle of the pecan pie filling. So use the one that you've always used before. Don't try a new one for this, for the air fryer, since it will change the color and the rise of the custard of your pie. And scoop that in. So once again, this is a 1/4 cup of dark molasses. And then we're adding in a 1/4 cup of maple syrup. This is going to be 3 tablespoons of melted unsalted butter. Next, we're going to have 1 cup and 1 tablespoon of dark brown sugar packed. This is going to be, I think it was a 1/3 cup of white granulated sugar. Now we're going to have 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, a 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt, 1 and 1.5 tablespoons of bourbon, and 3 whole eggs. I also have 1.5 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, but we're going to mix that in after you cream the butter and sugar and eggs together. And as usual, once you start it, you're gonna start off low and then increase the speed to medium. Awesome, so now that your filling is done, remember to scrape down the excess from the sides and also from the bottom and just gently mix it all together. It smells so good, you guys. It's super sugary, but also cinnamony and just smells like the holidays. It's so good. And now, since this is cool now, it's really easy to take out. Again, easy way to take it out is just to put your hands in diagonally, and the pie crust will kind of come up like this, and perfect. That's all you have to do. Gorgeous. The underside of the pie is still a little bit warm, so do be careful about touching that. And then we're just going to carefully remove the parchment paper. With all the rice. Ooh, perfect. spill a little bit. You want to make sure that the uncooked rice, the dried rice, doesn't get stuck in the middle, because then it's going to be really hard to take out. And then this is still going to be hot, so we're just going to want to set that off to the side over there. And let that cool before saving it again for the next blind bake you're going to do. And now for the cool part. We've got 8 ounces of toasted pecan halves. And now that this is cool to the touch, it's ready to go. We're going to pour in the filling. And it should be just 3/4 of the way. Make sure you scrape down the sides of your bowl to get all of the extra in there as well. And this is my favorite part. You're gonna take the pie and your toasted pecans, and we're going to start decorating it already. We're gonna lay out the pecan halves in concentric circles until it reaches the center. And it's gonna be a very beautiful pecan pie. So it's super fun. You can do this by yourself or with your kids. You can even have them decorate it how they want to, because the pecans will stay up like this. It'll be really nice. Perfect. So now that we've filled the pie, I've already reinserted back into the cool down air fryer basket. Everything is cool to the touch. The air fryer was at 400 degrees for the blind bake, so now the residual heat in the fryer itself, you don't need another preheat. You're going to want to set the temperature at 325 degrees once we get it into the air fryer. And to prevent burning on the top, you're going to cover the pie itself with a foil covering for the first 30 minutes, and then remove it when there's 5 minutes left on the cooking time. So this way, this little foil lid just sits right on top, so it doesn't like go into the custard at all. It's just gonna stay there the entire time. It's important that for easier like access, I just put it on top of a cutting board so that the handle right here isn't making it tilted, because it is a pretty liquidy filling. So when you reinsert into the outer basket, just use both hands like this and then gently push it down until it clicks. Perfect. And now we're gonna put it into the air fryer. Remember to just pick it up gently so you don't slosh the filling around. And we're going to set the temperature at 330 degrees Fahrenheit, and you want to bake this for 45 minutes total, but we're starting off at 40 minutes because you want the pie to be able to bake with the foil covering on, and then for the last 5 minutes you're going to remove the foil covering so the nuts get all nice and toasty on top. So it's just been 40 minutes. We're going to take it out now and remove the cover on top and bake it for 5 more minutes. Be careful, it's going to be kind of hot. Maybe get something to help you, like a spoon or a fork even, just to get that foil covering off. Yeah, wow, look at that. It's getting good. Okay, so it's gonna be for 5 more minutes and we'll be ready to go. Same temperature, just 330 for 5 more minutes to get that total cooking time of 45 minutes. And we're almost there. The pie is done. Be careful when you're removing it from the air fryer though. It will be hot. There might be steam as well. And now for the easy removal, once again, just remove it from the outer basket. I would let it sit just like this on the heat-proof surface for maybe 10 minutes before removing so you don't burn yourself. And again, just to show you, diagonally, you want to put your hands in like this so it's easy to remove. But yay, we made a pie in the air fryer, you guys. We're gonna plate it up now, make it look all nice and pretty. Totally optional, but it goes great with vanilla ice cream and whipped cream as well. So we're gonna get everything plated, cut a slice, and go right into tasting. Now it's time for tasting. Look how beautiful our pie came out. And it comes out so nice and easy from the pie tin. I kept the parchment paper circle underneath just so it wouldn't stick to this cutting board. And now we're going to cut it. I love pecan pie. I love how caramelly but not super sweet it is. It's almost like a in between of butterscotch and caramel. And that's because of the molasses. It's got nice rich undertones. It's not too sweet, but it's just sweet enough. And here we go for that first bite. So good. And ooh, I can really taste that bourbon there. It's a bit boozy, but it's really good. Normally it bakes out a little bit more, but I think maybe I put a splash too much. So make sure you measure your alcohol so it bakes completely out of the pie. But for the crust, I love pie crust. For this one, I did a combination. So it's a traditional pie crust, but with a little bit more sugar, so it's more like a shortbread. And it's just so delicate, and it breaks apart in flakes. Nice crunch. It's not chalky, it's not too hard, it's just perfectly crisp. And to pair it with these nice toasted pecans and that custardy, ooey gooey pecan center, it's decadent and so delicious. And we just really wanted to say thank you so much for watching, and we hope you have a great holiday wherever you are. Now please leave your answers in the comments below because I want to know what your favorite holiday dessert to make is. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.